Okay, I've been promising that I was going to do a roux video, and so today's the day. Roux is one of those foundational things that you need to know how to do, because from roux you can make sauces, you can make soups, you can make casseroles. Just the sky is the limit. This is the foundation. And so we're going to start off with just the plain old butter roux first, because this is the basis for a white sauce. French cooking calls it Bechemel, but Southerners call it gravy. The main thing to remember about roux is your proportions. Roux is just fat and flour, and the proportion is one part roux, 1 part flour. And then when you go to make your sauce, it's 1 part of liquid. And so since we're going to do the white sauce today, it's 1 tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of flour, cook it until it starts smelling nutty. The cooking will take the raw flour taste away and give your sauce base, your roux, a good flavor. You need to do this slowly. There's about 4 different shades of roux. The first one is called white. So see, it's just white. If you brown this a little bit more, then it becomes blonde. Then it becomes light brown, and then it becomes dark brown. So for, say you wanted biscuits and gravy, I would do a blonde, make a blonde roux. So there's your 1 tablespoon, one tablespoon flour. There you have 1 tablespoon flour, 1 tablespoon butter, and I've cooked it to a beige or blonde color. So that was 1 and 1, and so here's 1 cup of milk. Once you get your milk in, then you start whisking it. But we're bubbling real good now, so that means it's going to start getting thick, and you just keep stirring it until it gets to the thickness that you like. And Papa Bruce and I have a little bit of a disagreement here. I like mine a little bit on the thin side, and he wants his where you can cut it with a knife. So I
Not that much.
Not that much. But so I usually go a little bit longer than I like it, but not quite as long as he likes it. Besides, if you've got a good biscuit, it soaks it up anyway. But if you did get lumps and you wanted to make certain that it was nice and smooth, you can pour this through a sieve and then push any lumps through with your spoon. But there is white sauce, Bechemel. It's not gravy until you put some salt and pepper in it. And then I always put a little nutmeg in mine. Now, what can you do with this white gravy besides just eat it on biscuits? You can make macaroni and cheese. You can put this in some potatoes and make a potato soup. You can add it to chicken and dumplings to thicken up your dumplings. Just all kinds of things. But the nutmeg is one of the secrets of a really good white gravy. Oh, and if you cook this a little bit further at this point, if you wanted a cheese sauce, all you have to do is sprinkle some cheese in there and let it melt, and then you've got, to your cheese sauce, all you have to do is add a little chicken and broccoli, and then you have chicken and broccoli soup. Thin it out with some chicken stock. But there's our white gravy for biscuits and gravy. the beginning of many, many dishes. Here I have some chicken broth and chicken fat that I took off from what I had baked a chicken the other day. We're going to get a tablespoon of that chicken fat. It's a little bit more than a tablespoon. And we're going to put the chicken fat in there. And again, so it's 1 tablespoon of chicken fat, 1 tablespoon of flour. And we're going to stir it around and just get it to the cooked stage. And that's all we're going to do for that. I'm going to put it in a jar to keep in the refrigerator. So I will always have chicken roux on hand. Now, what do I do with this chicken roux? The same thing I would have done if I had made a full-blown chicken gravy. But this, I'm going to put in the refrigerator, just like that. Of course, ordinarily, when I'm going to do this, I do a big bunch. Make a whole jar. I figure out how much I'm going to need to make a whole jar, and then I put a lid on it, and I label it chicken roux. It's ready to go. If you ever wanted chicken gravy now, in a hurry, you just take out a tablespoon and put in a cup of chicken stock. Okay, now we're going to do a beef roux. And it's the same thing. This is some beef stock that I did the other day. So we're going to go in and get a tablespoon of that beef fat. There's 2 tablespoons. We're just going to see what we've got here. There's approximately 3 tablespoons. So we're going to put 3 tablespoons of flour in. 1, 2, 3. And we start the process again. Here we are coming up on a blonde roux already. We're going to make brown gravy this time, so we're going to let this get a little bit more brown. So I would say that's the blonde stage.
Can I do my rendition of Coming Around the Mountain?
This will be edited, by the way. This takes a little longer. Okay, this has turned brown now. I've still got a few little lumps in there, but we'll have to sift it out if we need to, but that's a good start. Now, since there were 3 tablespoons of fat and 3 tablespoons of flour, we're going to use about 3 cups of beef broth in here to get a good beef gravy. And so I believe that's going to be about 3 cups. We're going to put that in there. Look how solid that is. That's what you want when you make a good beef broth. So once again, you just start stirring it and cooking it down until that flour has a chance to make your liquid get thicker. See how nice and brown it looks? That'll be good beef brown gravy. Again, we're going to add salt and pepper to taste. And I'm not going to put nutmeg in this one. I'm going to put a little bit of fennel in this one. Fennel, just a little bit of fennel, brings out that beef flavor. And this has fennel seeds in it. So I'm just going to give it a couple of twists. Smells good. You could also add onions to this. You could add mushrooms to this. You could add a splash of red wine to it. You could put Worcestershire sauce in it. Just anything to your taste. to bump it up a little bit. But there you have your basic brown gravy. I'm going to take a taste of it. My rule of tasting things in the kitchen is to have a big spoon to stir with and a little spoon to taste with. And you pick some of it up and you pour it into your little spoon. And then that way you don't contaminate what you're cooking. What you're tasting for is the level of seasonings that you want. I'm going to let my darling taste of this too.
Oh yeah.
What can you do with brown gravy made out of beef stock? You can add it to beef and vegetables, and there's your base for beef stew. You could add noodles to it, and you've got beef and noodles. You could put the mushrooms in it, and you'd have a beefy mushroom gravy. There's just a lot of things that you can do with this. But we'll continue to let it cook. That's the magic of Roux. And if you make up a bunch ahead of time, keep it in the refrigerator, label it beef roux, chicken roux, whatever, then you're ready to go for a lot of meals. And you can rescue a meal that you think is ruined because it's not thick enough. I even like, say I did some chicken roux. If I made chicken noodle soup, I don't like just thin broth, and even in my chicken noodle soup, so I would put a little bit of that roux in and give it some body in that chicken noodle soup. All right, I have cooked this as long as I want to cook it, and it's not getting as thick as I wanted, and there's some little lumps. Sometimes anybody can mess up, so I'm going to show you my little trick now. See, that's pretty thin. That's not as thick as I want it, and there are some lumps in it. So I've got a double fail here, but I've got a surefire cure. Is my emergency beef roux ready to go? And see how I label it? I just keep it in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to put a few chunks in there. There's a chunk. So I'm just going to plop those in there. And you'll get to see the real how to do it when you've messed up. Stir that up. It's getting thicker already with just those two little bitty chunks. That's looking more like gravy now. That's looking more like the kind of gravy I want. But there's still, see, there's lumps in there. I don't want those in there. But it's about as thick as I want it. Darling, you want a taste of it again?
Sure.
Big spoon dipper, little spoon taster.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. Okay. I've got a sieve here. I've got my bowl. And we're going to pour this gravy into that sieve. I'm going to start out with just a couple of spoons to temper my bowl.
You need some help?
No, I'll do it like this, honey. Just warm your bowl up a little bit first, because you don't want to have any accidents of the bowl breaking because of the heat difference. So we're going to just pour the rest of this in here now. Okay, I've poured that gravy through the sieve. We've gone from lumpy and thin to smooth as silk in less than 2 minutes. So a failure doesn't always mean failure. If you know how to fix it, it's all good. So here we go. We've got our gravy for our steaks tonight, and just like always, I always say, this has been Granny B's recipe. Take it and make it your own. Thank you.